Administrator Michael Regan, welcome to Apple Park. We're so thrilled to have you here today and happy to show you just a little bit of Apple Park, including my home away from home, the rooftop. And you can attest to the fact that I don't spend all my time up there, but welcome to Apple Park.
Well, thank you so much, Lisa. And the little bit that you showed me is a lot. It's amazing to see what's happening here in Apple Park. So thank you all for having me.
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of an important time to be here with everything going on in the world of climate change and the IPCC report last week.
It is. I think the IPCC report is really painting a stark picture for us. The science is clear. And so we're excited that the president has a vision for how we adjust. And I think EPA is excited about the role that it plays in finding solutions for the IPCC results.
So tell us a little bit about your priorities and how EPA is tackling the obvious challenges of climate change, but there are other environmental challenges as well. I'd love to hear about it.
They are, and as you know far too well, we have to walk and chew gum at the same time. And I'm proud to say that we're picking up and building on the legacy that you left at EPA. We do have a number of priorities, but all of them are centered around environmental justice and equity. Climate is one of our biggest issues, obviously, but water pollution and water quality are on the radar, and so is air quality. While we tackle the climate crisis and think about protecting this planet and public health, we don't want to lose sight of our core mission, which is to protect public health with water quality, good quality drinking water, and air quality. As we know, there are so many health impacts from a lot of these stationary mobile sources, and so we're walking and chewing gum at the same time.
That's wonderful to hear because, of course, for most families, pollution that affects them every day, in addition to climate change that's affecting us all, but air pollution, water pollution, clean land, it's all of our right as Americans, isn't it?
It is, and I'm happy to say that we do have a central role in the president's vision to combat climate change. And as you know, when we think about the role of EPA, it's an honor to be so central to this mission, looking at how we reduce the emissions of HFCs, which are highly potent greenhouse gas emissions. Central to the president's executive order, looking at 50% of vehicle sales by 2030 being electric vehicles. We've got a rulemaking role there. Tackling the challenge of methane. In September, we're going to propose a rule that regulates methane emissions from both existing and new sources. And then we have to revisit how we reduce the emissions from our coal plants as well. So we have a full agenda on the climate stage. But again, we're not losing sight of the opportunities for water quality and air quality as well.
Now, we were talking a little bit earlier during the tour about the importance of infrastructure. And of course, EPA is also really engaged in the discussions around the infrastructure package in Washington, D.C. Talk about issues that affect every American. What's going on with the infrastructure package?
You know, the infrastructure package is historic. This is a great example of bipartisanship working the way it should work. And for EPA, it's especially sweet because there are significant resources that go into some of our core programs. Over $50 billion in water infrastructure, $7.5 billion in EV infrastructure, looking at over $21 billion in cleaning up legacy pollution. Many of those pollutants impact our environmental justice community. So this is a significant opportunity, not only for the American people and for job creation, but for people to really see what EPA can do.
I love that you describe it as an opportunity. I mean, these are challenges that need to be addressed when it comes to clean water, but you see it as an opportunity. Tell us about that opportunity for America.
You know, I do. Most people think about these inconveniences as sacrifices. We see them as significant opportunities to tackle some of the biggest environmental issues that we face but we also have an opportunity to use it as a rising tide. So I'm really excited about the resources that are being invested in. Quite frankly, I'm excited about the ability to leverage those resources with our public and private partners, which is where you and Apple come in. So talk to us a little bit about the importance of the public and private sector working together.
Yeah, it's incredibly important. You know, I'll give you a real world example. We were really proud at Apple to be, I think, the first U.S. company to endorse the clean energy standard. That's part of the infrastructure discussions. This idea that we really need to show leadership and give a strong and clear signal that all of our energy generation in this country would be 100% carbon free by 2035. When business hears that, we know how to invest. We know that the investments we're making are going to continue to pay off, not just financially, of course, but for the planet, for our future. And so, I always said that people protect our planet, but businesses more than ever have a role in making sure that our voices are heard in supporting smart, forward-looking public policy. That's part of, what I see as our role here at Apple.
Well, you've always been a leader in this space before Apple, and now that you're at Apple, you're helping to continue on that trajectory. When we think about the goals that Apple has, the carbon neutrality goal in the supply chain by 2030, Lisa, that's a huge issue to tackle. How are you going to do that?
No, it's big, but we can do it. We can all do it. And I think what Apple's doing is important and shows leadership, but we did it for just that reason. Look, Apple's carbon neutral now. You saw this facility, but we have stores all over the world. We have data centers all over the world, including your home state of North Carolina. Very proud of that. They all run on 100% clean energy. So we're carbon neutral today as a company. Many companies need to get there, and that's great. We asked ourselves what more we could do. And so we looked at our supply chain. We consider their carbon emissions part of our carbon footprint. So we said, you know what we should do? We should get every one of our suppliers to be carbon neutral for their Apple production, to use 100% clean energy wherever possible. And we have over 110 and counting suppliers who've agreed to be 100% clean energy for their Apple production. That's 8 gigawatts of clean energy coming online over the next few years, all to support this idea that this transition can't be without business. In fact, we should be leading it. It needs to be based on innovation. There are jobs and opportunities underlying all of that. I feel like from where we both sit in very different seats, we both have to push as hard as we can to make this transition happen for all of our collective futures.
Well, it's an awesome opportunity, and I think you have hit the nail on the head in terms of how we work from our different spaces. It makes it so much easier for us to make our policies and our regulations relevant when the private sector leads. And obviously, Apple is a leader amongst leaders, and we're really glad to see that happening.
Oh, thank you. That's nice to hear. I want to hear you talk about something that we've been talking about the whole time you've been here, which is environmental justice. I know it's important. I know you've set it as a priority. Talk to us a little bit more about what that means, why, and how you see that playing out as administrator.
Listen, I think that one of the more exciting things about this administration was the president's pledge to focus on racial justice and equity. And so it's made it a little easier for us at EPA, quite frankly, to pick up where you left off with a very laser focus on environmental justice and equity. From the very beginning, I asked all of my senior leadership team to give me a full accounting of how environmental justice and equity fits within the regulations, the policy, the contracts, and the procurement, as well as enforcement. So there is accountability internally at EPA. But we're lucky because there have been resources to complement that level of focus. The American Rescue Plan gave EPA $100 million to focus on environmental justice and air quality monitoring. The president has asked for a 20% increase in EPA's budget which is monumental, and a significant portion of that increase will be dedicated to environmental justice and equity. And then as we look at the bipartisan infrastructure deal, all of the resources that will be invested into our communities, the president has a Justice 40 initiative. 40% of those investments that go into those communities will stay in those communities in the form of jobs, economic development, as well as opportunities to reduce pollution. So I've often said that environmental justice is a centerpiece of this administration. EJ is part of EPA's DNA, and we are very, very serious about it.
I like that, EPA's DNA. That idea that the communities that so often bear the burdens should now bear some of the progress, should be recipients and beneficiaries, should see those jobs. I think that's so amazing. Congratulations, and thank you for your leadership in that area. It's time.
It is time. It's long overdue, and I've traveled all across the country, Detroit, Flint, Durham, North Carolina, Milwaukee. It's long overdue. And the good news is now that the resources are flowing to the agency, there have been solutions on the ground for decades. One of the things that we are seeing firsthand are the significant numbers of lead service lines that are still in operation across this country. As you know, lead is such a potent pollutant for not only adults, but especially our children. And one of the exciting things about the bipartisan infrastructure deal, the $50 billion focused on water infrastructure, the president has committed to eradicating all of the lead pipes in this country, 6 to 10 million lead pipes. Significant opportunity to protect children's health and public health. But more importantly, these lead service lines disproportionately impact Black and brown communities all over the country. 400,000 lead service lines in Chicago alone. So it's a significant opportunity to not only protect good quality drinking water, but also to focus on a longstanding environmental justice issue as well. So I can't tell you enough how much of a privilege it is to, again, pick up where you left off. It's not lost on me that I'm sitting here having this conversation with the first African-American EPA administrator. And so we feel a sense of responsibility to continue that legacy that you started.
Oh, it makes me happy to know I'm not the last. And you won't be the last either. These issues are important to our community. They're important to all communities, really. So just keep on doing the great work you're doing.
Absolutely. So talk to me about how you are carrying that environmental justice legacy from EPA to Apple. And what does that look like in the seat that you're in now?
You know, it's interesting because, of course, your responsibilities are awesome and so vitally important. You're setting the policies. You're making sure that our government works for us, works for all Americans. And there's no more sort of sacred responsibility than that. So let's always remember that. But here on the business side, that doesn't mean we stand by and watch you do it and say, hey, hope that works out for you. You know, what we asked ourselves what we could do in furtherance of the kind of justice you're working for. And so we approached it from the business side of the equation. And actually, just today, we announced our first class of what we call Impact Accelerator businesses. It's 15 business leaders who are Black and Latino and Indigenous people, so Black and brown communities, but they've started their own businesses. We'd like to be able to do business with them. We want them to grow to the kind of scale where Apple or companies anywhere in the country and the world, for that matter, can hire them, can pay them to work on clean energy, on energy efficiency, on recycled materials. There's huge opportunity in recycling, as you know, and resources, on cleaner processes and chemicals, on logistics. And so these 15 business owners will go through their very first class of Impact Accelerator businesses. They'll get training, they'll get Apple experts as mentors. They'll be the beginning of an alumni network, and almost certainly some of them will be Apple contractors in the near future. So what we are trying to do is add to and help grow the kind of businesses that you are now hoping to fund around the country. And we're really excited about the opportunities that we might be able to create, the economic empowerment that comes from owning your own and doing good in the world.
I'll tell you, it's exciting, it's ambitious, it's innovative, it's exciting, and I think we should not lose the opportunity to continue to highlight what you just mentioned, which is it's a false choice to think you have to choose between environmental protection and economic prosperity. They go hand in hand, tons of jobs associated with it, as well as being globally competitive. So it's exciting to see you do that work from this seat.
Thank you. Well, it's not as exciting and not as cool as being able to sit here with you today. I wish you all the best. I know the EPA is in wonderful hands, but more importantly, I know the country and our health, our environmental health, and the health of our families is in good hands. So keep up the great work.
Well, thank you, Lisa. Looking forward to continuing the partnership.
Absolutely.